climate, often called the British type climate. This is the climate of the West, and it matters for one reason beyond geography definitions. This is the climate that helped to power the Industrial Revolution. We'll build it in order: where it occurs, what actually drives it, why it stays so moderate, why rain has no real dry season, and how that creates one of the most efficient farming and commercial landscapes in the world. Don't treat this as just another climate label. This one is a full economy climate system. Start with location. This climate lies roughly between 40 degrees and 60 degrees north and south on the western margins of continents. The key regions are Northwest Europe, especially France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Norway. In North America, mainly the coastlands of British Columbia. And in the Southern Hemisphere, southern Chile, Tasmania, and New Zealand. Now here is the distinction that matters. In North America, the Rockies block the westerlies, so this climate stays narrow along the coast. In Europe, the lowlands allow it to penetrate deep inland. Most students remember latitude and forget relief. That is where easy marks go. Now the mechanism. This climate runs on two forces working together: wind and water. First, permanent westerlies blow throughout the year. Second, warm ocean currents, especially the North Atlantic drift, keep the nearby air milder than it should be for that latitude. Add frequent cyclonic activity, meaning repeated temperate depressions, and the result is a climate that stays moist, cloudy, and moderate for most of the year. That is why this is often called the Northwest European maritime climate. The ocean is not a side factor here. It is the main moderator. Now the most important character word: equable. An equable climate means a small annual temperature range. Winter usually stays above 0 degrees Celsius, so freezing is limited. Summer stays below 20 degrees Celsius, so it is never intensely hot. So what do you get? Moderately warm summers and fairly mild winters. That is the paradox. This is not a dramatic climate. It is a controlled climate. And here is a subtle point most aspirants miss. In such places, heat waves are often welcomed, not feared the way they are in the tropics. Because the normal climate is cool, not harshly hot. Now rainfall. This climate gets about 50 to 100 centimeters annually. And the big takeaway is simple: there is no dry season. Rain falls through the year, though there can be a slight cyclonic maximum, especially when temperate depressions become more active. Another line you should retain: rainfall generally decreases from the western margin toward the east. Why? Because the western side receives the first impact of moist westerlies. As air moves inland and across relief, it loses moisture. So the rule is clear: west gets hit first, east gets less. Now vegetation. The dominant strategy here is deciduous forest. Why shed leaves? Because dropping leaves protects trees from winter snow and frost and helps them survive the colder season efficiently. That is the biological logic. Now the economic logic. These forests often occur in pure stands, meaning large areas dominated by a single species. And they also tend to have open canopies. That makes logging easier and more profitable. The tree set you should remember here is oak, elm, birch, beech, and poplar. So this is not just natural vegetation. It is commercially valuable vegetation. Now look at the human pressure on this climate belt. This is one of the most densely populated regions in the world. Fishing is also crucial, especially for Britain, Norway, and British Columbia. And now the economic paradox. This region is crowded, highly efficient, and still often a net importer of food. Why? Because population density and industrial concentration are so high that even very productive agriculture is not always enough. That is why the slide's logic matters. High yield per acre does not automatically mean food surplus. Now move to one of the most exam-friendly concepts here: market gardening and truck farming. This is high-value intensive farming near urban centers. The products are usually perishable and profitable: vegetables, fruits, flowers, eggs, and dairy. Now the word trap. Truck farming is not about the vehicle itself. It is about the distance produce can be moved overnight to reach the city fresh. That is the real meaning. Attach the examples carefully. Netherlands, tulips and bulbs. Denmark, dairy and bacon. Tasmania, apples and vegetables, often moved by boat to the mainland. This is climate plus transport plus urban market working together. Now come to mixed farming, which is basically the perfect agricultural balance. The system is circular. You grow crops like wheat and barley. Part of that becomes fodder. Fodder supports livestock, especially cattle and sheep. Livestock produces manure, and manure goes back to the field as fertilizer. So the core principle is simple: nothing is wasted. And remember the crop distinction. Wheat is mainly for humans, especially bread. Barley is either for beer if quality is high, or for animals if quality is lower. This is why mixed farming is so stable. Every output feeds another part of the system. Now the potato story. Europe is the potato powerhouse, producing about 2/3 of global production. And potato is not just a food crop. It is used as a staple food, an animal fodder, and even a source of industrial alcohol. Now the deeper logic. Why grow potatoes so successfully in cool northern latitudes? Because of blight. Blight is the disease you need to remember. It thrives in warm, humid conditions, but struggles in the cooler north of Europe. So the latitude logic is not random. Cooler conditions reduce disease pressure and improve reliability. That is the kind of reasoning UPSC rewards. Now livestock. Where grass grows for most of the year, animals do well. That is the basic rule. In Britain, hill sheep are important, especially breeds like Leicesters and Lincolns. In New Zealand, sheep rearing is described as the chief occupation, especially in the Canterbury Plains. And when it comes to dairying, Denmark and New Zealand stand out as major exporters. This is exactly what you would expect from a mild, moist climate with long grazing periods. Good grass means strong sheep and cattle economies. Now lock the whole climate in one final frame. Location: 40 degrees to 60 degrees north and south on western margins. Distribution logic: the Rockies block it in the USA, but European lowlands allow it inland. Climate: equable, with mild winters, cool summers, and rain through the year, mainly cyclonic. Vegetation: deciduous forests that shed leaves in winter, often in pure stands, which helps commercial logging. Economy: mixed farming, market gardening, truck farming, and dairying. So the final definition is this: a climate driven by the westerlies, shaped by the ocean, and economically maximized through intensive, efficient farming. Once that chain is clear, you are exam ready.